Okay guys, I'm here with something special for you today. I ask at every video, give me your recommendations. What do you want me to see? This is the #1 asked for video, is the code. It's about fighting and hockey. If you don't know anything about me, you know, the sports that I'm into and trained in my whole life was martial arts, you know, and MMA. So I've just been loving this hockey journey. I love you guys who've been helping me along the way, teaching me all the stuff. I will ask if you can drop a subscription. I can't make money off any of these videos because, you know, the sports owner owns the copyright. I love doing it. I love getting to meet people. But if you could subscribe, that would mean a lot. If not, all good. So yeah, I'm super interested in this, like as a fighting perspective, and like, you know, in that Four Nations round robin game, it really stood out to me, you know, obviously like 3 fights in 9 seconds, but also the way that they're allowed to go about it. I'm not going to talk too much more. Let's just get into it.
Nin explains the code. The sport of ice hockey is the only sport on the planet that tolerates fighting and retribution.
Someone has called the guy out for calling it ice hockey. It's hockey, mate. No, I'm just kidding. That's so I'm told.
Even though their rules prohibit doing so. Referees will penalise players for breaking the rules, but sometimes the players take matters into their own hands.
Right.
There are unwritten rules that govern how players should behave.
Well, they
that
throw
you
in
won't find in any rule book. And there are even specific
the unwritten
players
rules.
on
So this
hockey
is the
teams
code.
whose sole job it is to police the game accordingly. These are the enforcers, otherwise known as goons, tough guys, fighters, or cops. And whilst
Cops?
it's their
Don't
sole
call
job
them
to
cops.
police the game, the code applies to every player on the ice.
Goons I'll allow.
These unwritten rules are based on mutual respect for your opponents and protecting your teammates.
Yeah, this is so interesting to
the
me.
code.
And they're really
the first
throwing.
rule of the code is that they do not talk about the code.
Oh, we got
Whilst
the
these
Fight
rules
Club
exist
rule.
amongst players, there is no official record of the rules of the code, except for this video. And you won't find these in any official rulebook. The NHL, or International Ice Hockey Federation, will always officially
So it's
decline
like-
to comment about any code.
If there's an unwritten
This is
code,
because
then
they
it's
don't
an
want to officially
honor
admit
system.
that their sport that they govern isn't completely under their control. The players police the game as much as the referees
Man,
do,
these are some
and
great
sometimes
punches
they
though
police
in
it
all these
ever too
clips.
much.
Ah, we're gonna have to get the ads. Man, amazing, incredible punches there. Oh, we can skip it already. Sorry about that.
If you do something bad, expect to pay the price. Let's say that you spitefully whack your opponent with a stick, and for some reason, the referees and linesmen completely missed it. No penalty is called against you, and you seemingly get away with it. I guarantee that the other team saw it, and they'll be gunning for you to avenge your crimes. There is now a giant bullseye on your back, with members of the
It is
opposing
interesting
team looking to return the favour, one way or another.
Having the players
And
be
if you
able
manage to
to
avoid punishment until the end of the game, just wait until you play them again.
keep
I
the opposition in
guarantee
line.
They won't have forgotten. Your crime is not transient, and
Great
they won't
punch.
stop headhunting you until you have paid the price. Rule number 3: you do not target stars. The best
McDavid.
players on most teams are the star
McJesus.
players that score goals and assists. There is an unwritten gentleman's agreement that stipulates that if you don't hit our star players, we won't hit yours.
Now I can
Let
guarantee
the
you
stars
that
score
one is
goals
not in
and
rugby
let
league.
everyone else do their respective jobs.
Star
Should
players
you
get
unfairly
targeted,
target a star player, expect swift retribution as per rule number 2.
but they're not allowed to fight
Rule number
to
4:
look after their
ignore Rule
stars.
3 if that star breaks Rule 2. Sidney Crosby, a generational player that could score goals.
All right, I haven't
at
seen
will,
Sidney Crosby
and
yet,
will
but I
one
have
day
him on
be
my list
trying
of videos to watch.
Fame. A talent so immense that he doesn't need to dive, take cheap shots, or hit anybody when they're down. But he does it anyway. This is totally unacceptable. Once you're a star player that resorts to these tactics, rule number 3 no longer applies, and you'll have a bullseye on your back just like everyone else.
What do you guys think of Sidney Crosby? Is his
Number 5,
career
no
marred
sucker
by
punches.
some dirty
There is a
tactics?
proper decorum to challenge someone to a fight.
Yeah, this is really
However,
cool. This is like
sucker
my
punching
favorite
someone
thing.
and
Oh,
punching them
not
when
sucker
they're down
punching,
or not looking
the etiquette.
is an unacceptable way of doing so. This is cowardly, and
Yeah.
blindsiding someone like this will result in the opposing team taking note. Expect swift retribution as per rule number 2.
Woo!
Lots of it.
That was a nice punch.
Rule number 6:
I mean, it was
Someone
unexpected. It
your
was a little
own size
cheap, but
or bigger. Unless they instigate it.
unless you're
it's
Nathan
not
Walker, the
acceptable
little
to pick on
Aussie, we
someone
watched his
who is
video.
significantly smaller
He was
than
only 5'9",
especially
and he was doing
if
great
they're
in the
skilled
fights.
players that do not fight. The rule is simple.
Okay,
Pick on someone.
I'm gonna pause 1 second because I have a question about this, right? The thing with the fights, maybe I should just watch this. Okay, but they throw the gloves off, right? Which then says I'm okay with initiating like combat, so to speak. So couldn't a smaller player, I mean, I'm sure it would hurt his pride, but if he's not a fighter, you just keep the gloves on, right? So,
The same size or bigger. Constantly picking on a smaller opponent will result in
so they're
someone
saying if you
significantly
repeatedly
bigger
do it.
coming after you. Rule number 7. Verbally or physically agree.
Yeah.
To challenge someone to a fight,
Damn it.
it's
I said it
important to
just
stand
before
square
the
onto
point
your
came up.
opponent. Gesture with the hands, the helmet, or start shaking off your gloves. Dropping the stick is a clear indication that you want to throw down. It's fair to bait them physically or verbally, but if you're wearing a cage or full visor, it's proper etiquette to remove that prior to fighting your opponent.
Oh, let's
Fighting without
go!
visor may be morally acceptable in some, but not all.
Oh, he gets the jersey pulled over his head after he pulls the
Don't
helmet off.
back down.
Okay, so
When
this
challenged
is...
to a fight, especially if you have been guilty of a crime committed on the ice, it is seen as cowardly if you do not accept the challenge. Backing down is not cool. You will not receive any brownie points with your teammates and expect some form of retribution.
I mean, with the
sometime
shoulders
during
on
the
this
game,
guy, like...
legal or not.
Why doesn't he want to fight? Alright, we got another ad. That bloke's shoulders look like he's wide enough to take on anybody.
9. You do not turtle. Once you have engaged in a fight, it is not acceptable to turtle, i.e. curl up in a ball to avoid punches. This is seen as cowardly. You have accepted the challenge to fight, and fight you must.
I mean, that can't happen
Rule
very
number
often,
10.
right?
It is acceptable to premeditate fights. It is deemed
Okay, so you
courteous
can
to
organise
politely
them.
ask a player if he wants to fight. Exhibit A, Georges Larac.
You want to? Okay. Square up? Okay, good luck, man.
Oh!
Is the
Good
gentlemanly
luck,
way of
man.
instigating a fight, and a fine example of good code etiquette. If a premeditated challenge is accepted, the gloves must come off and helmet visors removed before you fight. Respected enforcers.
I'm loving
will
seeing the
actually
little
remove their
different
helmets
stances. He
completely
had a
and
really
roll up their
interesting,
sleeves.
like, front hand
This is
low.
to protect their opponent's hands as well as their own. This is the ultimate mark of respect. Rule number 11. You do not punch someone lying
Yeah.
down. Once the fight has reached the ground, and one or both combatants have hit the ice,
And I imagine this
you
has
must
happened.
stop immediately. They are in a defenseless position. It is dishonorable to hit someone when they're down, especially
Well, I
if
hope
they
it doesn't
can't
happen very
defend
often,
themselves.
actually.
The punishment and retaliation for breaking this rule is severe. Rule number 12. You do not fight goalies unless you are a goalie or
Okay.
they instigate it. Goalies, like stars, have a job to do, and it doesn't involve fighting. Unless they challenge you.
I don't
and
know
it's
if the
obvious
player's
that they're
job
doing
involves
so,
fighting.
leave
Okay.
them well alone. That said, it is acceptable for both goalies to fight each other, even if no incident has happened between them.
Whoa!
Rule number 13.
Good
Brawling
strikes.
is fair game. It is perfectly acceptable to retaliate to multiple infractions made by both sides. If every player steps in at once, it's fair game to challenge
Wow,
someone completely
that's
unrelated to the original
crazy.
altercation and fight with them.
Wait,
This
it's a
is to prevent
penalty.
the
Did they
opposing
all
player
go
from
up?
applying damage to your teammates and to temporarily eliminate
Wait, see
you
now
from
what's
the
he
game
doing? He's
by
on the ground. I
getting
knew
them
it must
and
happen.
yourself sent to the penalty box.
He's going for a
Rule number
takedown.
14. Be wary of pests. A pest is a player whose sole
Trying
job
to
is to
instigate.
antagonize and annoy you and your teammates in order to draw penalties. They will
Hmm.
resort to anything from verbal abuse to underhand tactics to licking your face. They will most
What?
likely challenge
Oh,
you to
that's
a
someone.
fight and then proceed to run away, leaving you with an
Someone
instant
told me that in the
penalty.
comments.
Be cautious when you challenge them to a fight, because that's exactly what they want you to do. Rule number 15. The golden rule. You stand up for your teammates, whether it's your job or not. Whether you're an enforcer or not, if you are on the ice and foul play happens, you are expected to stand up for your teammates. Regardless of size, weight, or star power.
We're definitely going to watch
These
a
players
fight
will stand up
compilation.
for you,
Man,
through
listen.
thick and through
Oh
thin,
my god, that guy
and
is
it is
just
seen as cowardly to not return the favour. Teammates
got a
will
head made of
notice if you
concrete.
don't have their back, so be wary because one day it might be you that needs the help.
Got the goalies
The
going
most
at it.
interesting thing is that the code is open to interpretation.
Yo, credit
No two
to
players
him
have the
though. He took a lot of
same interpretation of the code. But in general,
jump
these
over
are
the
the
head.
rules that ice hockey players live and die by, even if they're not written down. When regular rules aren't enforced properly, the code dictates how justice is served. In conclusion, there are some amazingly talented players in the sport of ice hockey, and there are people whose job it is to protect them. These men and women have given up being stars themselves, taken lower paychecks, significantly shortened their own careers, and risked their lives and future health, all to protect their teammates when the rules of the game fail to do so. These
I mean, that's
are
a very
noble
grand
warriors
way of
who
saying
will
that.
fight with honor and within the unwritten rules of the game. They deserve our absolute respect because they are the enforcers of the code.
I mean, he really built it up, the emotion with the music.
Guys, thank you very much for watching this video.
And,
I'm this close to over
you know, the
100,000
emotion.
subscribers. So if you haven't already, like, share,
Have a
and subscribe,
subscriber,
please.
mate. Gotcha. Okay, very interesting to me. I just can't help but run the parallels between the sport that I watch, which is rugby league, and I did a video explaining a little bit of it yesterday, and like how much more niggle there is in the game, and what they were talking about with those players who are there to instigate, right? But they don't instigate directly. They do it by like, you know, dirty tactics. And you get like, I feel like there's a lot more these days because you used to be able to fight. I've said it on another video, but if you haven't seen that, in my sport, you used to be able to have a one-on-one fight and that's okay, right? As long as it's not a brawl, as long as other people don't come in. If you fight one-on-one, it's fine. And yeah, you have your, it's really interesting to note how they were saying you don't touch stars. Now, that makes sense to me because the officials can only officiate like evenly across the board. So what the players do is they take it into their hands to protect the stars because that's going to be a target. I find that in my sport, rugby league, the stars get targeted. You know, the smaller players, a lot of the times the smaller players are the playmakers, they're the skilled players. And, you know, you'll see them just get set up for like massive shots, you know, big disproportion in size, attacking those players. And, you know, at the end of the day, the player on your team, your big guys, your enforcers, they're not allowed to do anything because the penalties now are so severe. If you make any contact with any player's face, like it doesn't have to be a punch. It could just be like, you know, shove their face, something like that. You are sent off and your team's down a player for 10 minutes. So they've totally taken that out of the game. And I feel like, yeah, your stars, they're not protected because the officials don't do, you know, you don't want officials showing favoritism. They should officiate the game as it should be. So yeah, the players can't really step up and do that. But I find it really interesting. The thing I love about it is the consent. Like, I love that you put your stick down, you put your gloves off. In some cases, you say, good luck, mate, as we saw in that video. But genuinely, I love that it's agreed to, right? It's not a bully. I'm sure players feel like they must defend themselves, right? You don't want someone to throw the gloves off and you're going to be like, no, I don't want to fight. You know what I mean? But theoretically, it looks like you can. I don't know if that does happen. It makes sense. Like, if you don't know how to fight, don't fight. Let your other player who can fight go fight that guy or something. You know what I mean? They can agree to it. So I just love that aspect of it. I love that the referees let it happen and control it and then stop it, well, you know, once it hits the ice. We even saw on that Nathan Walker video that I watched the other day, shout out to the little Aussie, that, like, you know, they slipped initially. Like, they leant to the ground and then the refs let them, like, you know, almost helped them up and said, all right, now you go, guys. So anyway, I see why you all recommended me the code. It was very emotionally charged, very entertaining. Good job, Nin. Now, we'll be looking into some different stuff. Plenty more hockey. I have to watch a hockey fight compilation now because I haven't actually seen one. I've just seen a couple of little clips here and there, and obviously the Four Nations, US versus Canada. We know how that went. But we're also going to be looking at some lacrosse and curling. I want to look at curling. Someone in my very first video commented they want to see curling. So we're going to do it because I know nothing about it. Anyway, I'm waffling on. I love you guys. The code was awesome. Thanks for the recommendations. Drop more down. We'll watch some fight compilations 100%. I have to see some more hockey fights. It's fascinating to me. And again, I know I always say it a lot, but I appreciate you guys so much for educating me and coming with me on this journey and welcoming me. You're incredible. All right, I'll see you soon.